that's what I really like about ACI is that it has so many different diverse angles to get into. With me jumping into this research and development career, I've been able to see like, oh, what other additives, what poslins, what are, what's the talk of the town, so to speak, of what are people looking at? What can I find something else maybe to put into the product to see what that does? Because that's what my ear to the ground has been recently. Hi, and welcome to this month's episode of Engineering Greatness, an original podcast series produced by the American Concrete Institute. I'm Katelyn Hensel with Salt River Materials Group, otherwise known as SRMG, up in Clarkdale, Arizona. Today with me, we have Anthony Lamanna. I hope I pronounced that right. Did
You
I get
got
that
it.
right?
You got
Okay,
it.
awesome. Um,
I'm Tony Lamanna. I'm the Penta Building Group professor in the Dell E. Webb School of Construction at Arizona State University here in Tempe, Arizona.
Awesome. Let's begin. Welcome to this podcast. Let's begin by discussing how we, ended up in this whole world of engineering. So, Tony, what brought you into this industry? Was it something that you wanted to do, or did you kind of stumble your way into it?
Yeah, I think like most of my friends, I ended up stumbling into it. I did my undergraduate in civil engineering with a focus in construction, so that would be what would be now be construction engineering. Did the typical, concrete canoe kind of thing. And then it wasn't really until I ended up at Purdue University for my master's in construction materials that I really kind of entered the concrete world. Looked in depth at concrete railroad crossings that were cracking and having durability issues, and that's kind of what got me to join ACI. I was an associate member on committees and went from there.
Oh, awesome.
Um, so how about you? How'd you come to concrete via geology?
Yeah, see, I feel like I got here in a super roundabout way. As of right now, I'm a research and development technician for cement products that we manufacture. Went to school at NAU for geology and didn't even realize this whole world existed. So fresh out of college, I'm like, I'm gonna find a job. Ended up stumbling into a materials testing firm, stayed there for 6 years. They're like, hey, if you're gonna stick around and are interested, you should go to ACI. You should start getting involved. And that's ultimately what I did was I applied for the Women in ACI sponsorship that sends a young professional to a convention. And from there, it was just joining, young professionals committees and just diving headfirst into it.
Speaking of committees, what are your sort of main committees that you focus on when you go to a convention?
Nothing technical right now. I'm still I feel like up and coming, very new to this world. But the two big ones are SIPAC, the Student Young Professionals and Activities Committee, and the Women in ACI. So I help them organize events and help just get involved, volunteer with what they need help with. What about you? Are you on any technical committees?
Yeah, I've been a long time member of ACI 355 Anchorage to Concrete. My back after Purdue, I went to Wisconsin, Madison for my PhD in structures.
Go Badgers.
And yeah, go Badgers. I'm a Badger and a Boilermaker, so when they play each other, I can't lose, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, can't lose. Somebody's gonna win. So uh, and at my during my PhD, I did a lot of work with powder actuated fasteners and concrete screws, and so it seemed natural to join that committee, and I've been a member ever since. Enjoying bringing Anchorage design through what used to be Appendix D, now into Chapter 17. We mainly work on the qualifying documents, so what testing has to be done in order to be able to use the equations developed in the code in order to do that. Um, I've also been a former student of ours. She convinced me to join, I think it's 134 on constructability from when we started. And so I think we spent a few years defining constructability. And then we basically run a mini session at the beginning of our committee. and they've been very, very informative to kind of bring some of that information from the construction side into concrete.
Oh, that's awesome. Uh, Now, when you first started getting involved with ACI, how intimidating, or I guess, how did you find that right committee for you? Because I'm like I'm looking at poslins, I'm looking at some other stuff, but I'm like I'm still getting a feel for it.
Yeah, I partly I went to many committees, and this was actually my PhD advisor, Larry Bank. He recommended I do that. So I went and attended several different committees, sat in for I think maybe two different conferences to see how they worked, to see kind of the feel. And this is 355 was a committee that was 49% manufacturer, right? It was and so if they added an other category, they could add another manufacturer to the committee. And so I was invited rather quickly to that committee as a voting member so they could add a manufacturer who was waiting. And I liked it because that committee moves pretty quickly. It is very manufacturer driven. It's in their best interest to uh, get new products into the code and do it safely, right? And a lot of the adhesive anchor installer certification programs at ACI have come about because of the failure at the Big Dig. And in order to prevent poor installation, we've got to come up with certifications for installation and inspection. So I like being a part of that. I like being a part of making the public safer, making the code safer. And so that really excited me, that committee. Over the years, I've spent some time on the Educational Activities Committee. I really enjoyed that, getting to help out with developing webinars, the offerings at ACI University, things like that, that the Institute offers. And then I just finished a term on the Construction Liaison Committee, mostly contractors to help kind of bring the viewpoint of construction and how we bring more contractors into the Institute.
Okay.
So it's really up to you. I think just start attending some committees and see where you can help out.
Yeah. Um, that said, how have you noticed ACI and your career overlapping? What's the benefit of being very involved with ACI, and like, are you able to mesh them pretty well? Is it something that's been hugely beneficial for your career, or is it kind of like your own, like, how do you feel about how it's benefited your career?
Absolutely through all stages. So my career hasn't necessarily been linear. I started out as got my PhD, was a professor. We had a little bit of weather in New Orleans, and so when Tulane University stopped having engineering, I started my own company, and then I've since come back to academics full time. So when I was practicing engineer, the institute had webinars, seminars, workshops on how to use the code. A lot of them were run through our local chapter. I was pretty involved in our local chapter in New Orleans. I got to help host ACI
Fun.
convention in '09, and then again recently, was it maybe 23? I don't remember when it was in New Orleans, quite recently. So helped me kind of get back up to speed on the newer codes to practice. And then when I came back to academics, it's actually been very helpful in getting information as an instructor. So uh, for construction programs out there listening, the Institute has instructional materials if you want to use the Contractor's Guide for Quality Concrete Construction in a class. There's PowerPoints, there's homeworks, there's assignments that the Institute has. So you can reach out to ACI. I'm sure they can edit and insert something here or here.
Uh, oh, that's awesome. Yeah, because that's that's what I really like about ACI is that it has so many different diverse angles to get into. With me jumping into this research and development career, I've been able to see like, oh, what other additives, what poslins, what are, what's the talk of the town, so to speak, of what are people looking at? What can I find something else maybe to put into the product to see what that does? Because That's what my ear to the ground has been recently.
What are your thoughts on this whole 1L
The 1L, that's
replacement, this limestone cement replacement? I guess it would be a dilution, right? Because it's not a
yeah.
reactive material. So what are you seeing from your point of view in your career on that?
I've heard opinions about it, that's for sure, especially as a cement manufacturer. We're kind of like 1L, what is this? Do we get on top of it? Do we, so we're still kind of like looking into it. We're still seeing the benefits because I don't know, in terms of I we haven't really played with 1Ls, at least not me specifically. I have a different, like, I've been focusing on like an air project, an air attainment right now. So that's been the big focus for our department. But which I can go into that if you want. The 1Ls, I don't know. I hear it's good. I hear it takes time to get to a lot more time
Uh,
to get to strength compared to just your normal cement usage. But I've heard, I don't know.
yeah, our partner construction companies that partner with us for classes and site visits and things, they've said it doesn't finish as easily if it's a high replacement rate, close to that 15%. But it'll be interesting to watch the research and the case studies come out as time moves on.
Yeah,
But
because I
yeah,
know.
tell us about your project, your air project,
So
if
that's
you can,
been
if you're allowed.
I can talk about it vaguely. Uh, but in terms of what we're doing right now is fly ash has, because it is a byproduct of coal burning, there's a lot of carbon in it, and that carbon can, vary depending on what fly ash you're looking at. And we've learned that carbon will actually react with your air entrainment agent and prevent that air entrainment from actually taking on that air. So you have to pump more of that AEA into it. So we're looking to see like what other chemicals could we essentially coat the fly ash with, so it actually can pick up that air entrainment. So we're not like doubling up on dosage. So we're trying to create a more consistent product. But that right now has been a, hey, do like 100 different air tests with all these different like chemicals and see just what your air content is. How is it actually retaining the air? Is it letting the air get in there, or is it just absolutely killing that air content? We're also looking at like at what level of that carbon will critically impact it. So like a high carbon ash versus a low carbon ash, a C ash versus an F ash. So it's just a bunch of data gathering these last few months, but hopefully we're reaching the end. We're getting there. I've done air tests for like 4 months straight now.
And is there a plan to use AI to help analyze that data? That's the buzzword now, right? AI,
um,
AI, AI.
yeah. As of right now, no. We don't, like, maybe once we hit like a large volume of data that we've gathered. But the big concern with AI is, if you upload your data to the AI, someone could come around and potentially get that information out of the AI because of like just how it collects everything in that database. So there's a security concern with the AI on that front. So we're kind of hesitant to really put something in the AI. We don't really have our own secluded AI away from like public servers. At least don't quote me on this. Don't put this. I'm not 100% on this. Um, but yeah, we're pencil and paper in it all the way
Yeah.
through. But
There's some concern even with internal models. I know we have our internal models here at ASU, but since we're a public institution, there's still things like freedom of information request and what's under the hood and what can eventually be seen in the case of some other request, right? So it's again a new era, seeing what's going on.
has
Uh,
that been like a big point of concern on your end, the whole AI, kind of taking over and hallucinating information?
yeah, unless you tell it exactly what it needs to know. Actually, that was something I learned on my last ACI conference. I was chatting um, with Tara from North Carolina, and we were talking about creating an AI. If you have an internal AI model, you can give it documents and say only use these documents. But if you need more, mine used to be said, it would say, I need more information, tell me where to go. But it's better to have a quote unquote guardian angel, uh, procedure that's built in that says, oh, I couldn't find it in your documents. I went out and I found this. Can I use it? And so
Okay.
that saves some time there. And I think a lot of the hallucinations come from uh, AI that's trained on the web. There's a lot of information out there, not necessarily correct. Hot Wheels 69 blog might not be the best source of material for, concrete parking lots design or something. So, um, you know, using an open trained AI is not always the best situation.
Yeah, and I know with ACI having like you can't upload our documents or documents to any AI kind of algorithm. It's we're still kicking it old school.
And I know staff is working on something. So I vaguely remember some discussion in the last meeting I went to of the construction liaison committee and how AI is being, if ACI doesn't do it, it's going to get done by individuals.
Yeah.
To be able to query across. I use it for accreditation. So I'm a member of the American Council for Construction Education, and we accredit. We're like the ABET, but for construction management programs. And I've plugged in our standard for accreditation, and asked AI to show me where it's unclear, to show me where it contradicts itself, and in so doing, we've been able to help clean it up some. And I
Okay.
think so. ACI is gonna. I know they're gonna do something, but the wheels of the institute move slowly.
Yes. Yes, it does. Um, what else do we have here? But outside of the ACI conventions itself, what do you do in terms of your local ACI chapter? Because I know I used to be involved with Phoenix. I've been long since removed since moving up north, so I've been helping the NAU and Northern Arizona University kind of get set up there and show a presence, try to establish something up there. But how's the Phoenix chapter going?
Yeah, at ASU, our student chapter is doing well. We're fixing to undergo a transition pretty soon. Professor Jim Ernzen has been the advisor for the student chapter for, I don't want to insult him, but many, many, many years. And I think as he gets closer to retirement, I'll sort of be filling in for him as the chapter advisor. So I'm starting to get more involved with
Hey,
our student chapter. I think my role will be to basically create a timetable of when the students have to have certain things done to be able to participate. I know in the past, our student chapter has not uh, done student competitions because they missed deadlines. They weren't able to have product ready, and they didn't want to jeopardize future students from being able to have a team. So I think some organization from above might be helpful, but again, it's still a student competition. I think it's exciting to see what goes on there. I would like to see more construction related student competitions that aren't necessarily design related, for more of the construction management side. But I don't have time to do it. So sometimes if you talk too loudly, you have to do it.
yep, yep. That said, ACI and like student competitions, that was something that as a geology student, I never got largely involved with or even knew was a thing. So, um, how how could a student best, you know, go to ACI and learn I had the question, I lost it. Like, what do you think is the best way for a student to get involved with ACI, not only as a student, but then how do they transition that involvement into their professional career?
That's a really good question, and it's something I think most universities struggle with. I know ACI does an incredible job of getting student members because the membership itself is free, essentially free for a student. I love it too because that gives the students access to, I think, 10 or 11 credits on ACI University, so they can take things that interest them. There's a few certificates that you can actually do completely with those free ones. Like I think construction or repair application procedures, the RAP, the RAP one can be done with the free credits. And then when you graduate and go to a company, you're the new person. And it's sometimes difficult to convince a company to make that investment. And so I think there's some things you can do as a student or recent graduate to show your involvement at ACI. So as a student, make sure you join some committees as an associate member, be on the committees, help. Just because you're not a voting member doesn't mean you can't actually provide comments on a document that's undergoing voting. Um, get involved, preferably get on a committee so you can show the value to your company. I think there's some things ACI might be able to do too. I think maybe some discounted attendance or discounted what's it called? Conference registration maybe for younger members. Uh, I like the mentor program. If you're a first-time attendee, make sure you check that box. So even if you've gone as a student and you're a first-time attendee as a employee, check that first-time attendee box so you can get a mentor. Yeah, the convincing a company to invest in a younger employee might be difficult. So if you're out there and you're working for a company and you're not a younger member, but you have control over who gets to go, make sure to send some of the younger engineers, younger contractors to go to these ACI events.
Yeah, because that's how I ultimately found out about ACI was an old coworker of mine tipped me off to their awards pages, and by winning an award through there, I was able to get my foot into the door essentially and be like, "Hey guys, see, like it's worth the investment here." So for those who are like, "Well, I'm new or don't know," like awards are also a really good way to get your name out there and hopefully get that convention registration.
And you can't win if you don't apply. I think that's a
Exactly.
big thing. I've seen plenty of students. Ah, well, my GPA is only a 3.8. Man, that's awesome. Or 3.6. And a lot of people think, well, I'm not the best. I don't have a 4.0. I'm not going to get that fellowship or scholarship. You know, I've been on committees in other organizations where we might have 10 scholarships to give, but only 8 applications. So don't think because you're not at the tip top of the scale that you're not going to get it. So apply, uh, apply. That's all I can
Yep.
say. ACI's got scholarships, ACI's got graduate fellowships, um, and they're all very helpful.
So we've talked about how ACI can benefit like, your career, but I think what really stood out to me was how ACI really benefited my like interpersonal skills and just not being afraid to put myself out there and speak up and just kind of even just interacting, walking up to someone saying, "Hey, like who are you?" People love talking about their jobs. It's fun. I mean, that's what we're doing now. But outside of like the career benefits, what other are there any other beneficial like soft skills do you think that ACI helps encourage within students and even younger members and even people who are just like, "Hey, I just found out about this."
Yeah, the social events. I,
Yes.
I, I have to say, I think they've gotten somewhat better. That ACI that just happened in Rosemont slash Chicago. The mixer was at a music venue. They had a live band. It was great. I think the social events are important, and um, unfortunately, I think a lot of folks who might need that interaction tend not to go to those social events, right? And so I think it's important to force yourself to get out of that safety zone, go to the mixer. I know women in concrete have a mixer. I know there's a faculty network that has a mixer. If you're in the construction world, I think Next the Center of Excellence has a mixer. Go to the mixers, go to the receptions, practice talking to people. If you don't practice, you're not going to get good at it. Absolutely. And I was kind of lucky when I was doing my PhD. I would spend a month every summer in Vicksburg at the Army Corps Waterways Experiment Station. And so I knew some of the folks, the researchers there who were heavily involved in ACI. And so when I graduated and started going, they knew me, they took me around, they introduced me to some people. It was easier for that component of it. But yeah, I think and if people like you and you talk to people, they're more inclined to help you when you need something for work. I've got folks I've met at ACI. I'm not on committees with them. I'm not doing projects with them, and I'll get a call out of the blue. Tony, I got this problem with these anchors. Uh, what can you tell me? Can you help me out? Point me in the right direction. And that's a good feeling that, not only do they know me from just chatting, they know that that's kind of my strength. They know that I can help them with that design, and help their project move forward. So, uh, yeah, I don't know how we can make that better at ACI. I think more of it and showing the younger engineers that this is an important skill to have.
Yeah. So I was very similar like you. At my first convention, I was lucky enough that one of my old coworkers at the time was also there, and he was just like, "Hey, let me introduce you to people." And I'm like, "Okay, cool. I'm not just gonna not flying blind here." So circling back, I think the mentor program kind of helps, you know, pipeline people into those skills of like
Yeah,
having
and
someone
yep,
uh,
and maybe it can be expanded for more than just one, first time attendees, right? If that mentor can be assigned for multiple, maybe a few conferences, something like that would help. I'm on the back end of that. I'm a little bit older now, and while I'm still decade and a half from retirement, a lot of my friends that I came, I had a friend that I used to go to dinner with every Monday night. He's now retired. Another friend of mine's retired from the Corps. So a lot of the folks I used to hang out with are now retired, and I don't quite have that social network I used to have at ACI. So now I start hanging out with the younger folks. Um,
oh, I'm sure we're a absolutely energetic bunch. It's
oh, absolutely.
a word for it. Um, Man, anything else off the top of your mind in terms that you want to talk about, or because I
Yeah,
feel like we've hit a lot of the points.
I think we did, and perhaps some more attention to this whole younger engineer, younger contractor involvement. How do we encourage that as an institute? How do we encourage companies to see the value in that? Again, as I'm not quite there yet to retire myself, but as folks start retiring, how do we bring in younger folks, get them involved?
That
Uh,
is the biggest question the SciPac committee asks itself every convention. We're asking ourselves, how do we keep reaching out? How do we keep doing this? And I think we're on a really good path of just like kind of our big thing for the Rosemont convention was, let's just have a space where we can all meet up and hang out that's in the convention hall. Usually it's our uh, young professionals like booth that's right next to registration usually. And so just having a space there, we brought some chairs, a little bench. I That was the most involvement I've seen from like the young professionals. I recognize it's still fairly new, but we had like four or five, six people there almost anytime I popped in. It was great. So I think stuff like that, you know, this is just me spitballing here, but I think if we could get ACI a mascot, get him
Like like a panda or something.
something, yeah.
Slump, Slumpy the slump cone.
A
It's
traffic
got
cone.
ears.
I don't know. I'm still spitballing it. I haven't thrown the idea out there, but I'm thinking just maybe it's an angle.
Yeah, And then there could be tryouts for who gets to be
Ooh.
in the mascot suit.
Yep. Uh,
Yeah. And then you could have little plushies that people could take home to their kids, get them started on an early age.
yep. Gotta get them young, young. No, but I think that's the other big, there's I want to sign up as like a mentor at some point, but I'm in this weird in between of I'm still fairly young in my career. I've only been to four conventions. Um, just started up this new career fairly recently in actual like cement manufacturing, materials testing. All I did was soil stuff. All it was just, hey, sieves, proctors, PIs. Now I'm actually, I feel like in the thick of it, but I haven't been in the thick of it long enough to really feel like I could mentor someone through. So at some point, I really want to do that mentorship thing as a mentor and see just who I can rope into this.
Yeah, which companies we can convince to send more younger folks.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not a cheap convention, right? It's a high registration fee, but I think it's worth it. It's you get some decent receptions, you get some networking time with other professionals, and then you get to work on things that matter. Um,
Yeah.
I
From what I've heard from a few of the other younger professionals is it seems it's less it's the cost plus the time off. How can we still meet our deadlines or still, do X, Y, and Z while sending you away for a week, 4 days, however long it is. That seems to be another big challenge of just that time off and the time off and cost, really.
yeah
It's not really time off. I'm still in my email all the time.
yeah yeah. I try to build in time to go back to the hotel room and get some work done. Especially in the fall, in the fall it always seems to fall during midterms.
Yep.
So there's grading and student questions and fun things going on.
Hey, I'm just lucky I can't drag a brake machine on a on an airplane.
Yeah.
So the lab work is easy to leave behind. You know, but
So are you member or active in other organizations?
I want to get involved with other organizations. Like the World of Kalash is the next one on my list of getting involved with, but they meet every, I want to say 2 years, and they just had their convention this year. Um, I want to get involved with that. I want to get involved maybe with ASTM, because I have a lot of certs for soil testing, concrete. Surprisingly, not physical cement. That's my next one to do, but still trying to, figure that out, get settled in with the new job, the new area. Um, but we have other people at the company who are involved with ACI and World of Kalash, so it kind of becomes a conversation of, well, we can't send the whole lab
Yeah.
out.
Well, and ASTM is a little unlike ACI. With ACI, if you're a voting member, you're pretty much expected to be at the conventions and at the meetings, especially if you've got code documents that are being revised or voted on or added to. ASTM, I don't think there's an attendance requirement. There is a voting requirement if you're a member of, I've been a member of EO6 for a while, building envelopes. Um, so it's something you can join and, participate without having to spend time going places.
Okay, that's
Uh,
good to know.
so I think that was something, I think it was neck and neck with ACI for longest involvement for me as a member.
So has it just been ACI and ASTM or any other?
I'm actually trying to get off my committees at ASTM and try to give that one up a little bit. So I'm involved in the American Council for Construction Education. I'm right now the vice chair of the Standards Committee that handles the standards for accreditation for construction management programs. Um, I'll probably, consider being chairman once the current chair's term is up. I've also worked with them to create something called Teaching and Learning Practitioner Program, which helps train folks to, it gives them a teaching certification uh, to be in the classroom. So I'm active there. And then I'm a member of American Society of Civil Engineers, ASCE. I'm of course, they just reshuffled all the committees around. So I think it's a committee on workforce education that handles accreditation. So they handle evaluating the ABET evaluators. So I've been an ABET program evaluator for construction engineering, architectural engineering, and civil engineering. And ASCE assigns those evaluators. And then that committee, I was used to be the committee on accreditation operations.
Oh my gosh, that's a lot.
And then now everything's moved around, but I think I'm still like a probably the equivalent of a non-voting member or associate member on that committee as they kind of tool up and figure out what they have to do. So we evaluate the evaluators. So
Oh,
um, I'm not one for joining an organization and not getting involved. I like to be involved and make a difference.
yeah, and that's a very good statement. I want to get involved, but I don't want to just start, overexerting myself. And I want to be very careful of where I pick and choose and where I'll end up going.
No, it's easy to get overextended. I've done that. Hence me trying to maybe back off of ASTM a little bit. It's just there's a limited amount of time,
Yeah,
and you've got to be careful where you put your time. But ACI is definitely, I think, worthy of people's time.
yeah. No, it's been nothing but a boon to my career, and I absolutely love staying involved, being involved. I'm so happy that I did, as you said, apply for that award, because I was so terrified. I'm like, I'm just me. And apparently me just being me has launched this whole last 2 years of ACI for me.
Well, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. I'm glad Beth kind of gets the Arizona gang together at the convention for lunch one day. Beth is the executive director of the ACI Arizona chapter. For those listening that don't know Beth, she grabs
That,
Arizona folks and gets us together for lunch, and so we can catch up on what's going on.
yep. And that's another valid point too. If you end up going to ACI through your school, definitely see if you have a local chapter that you can get involved with. Like, stick with them because you know, Arizona's having a bowling event in July, end of June.
Yep.
Uh, and I can't wait to see all the guys I've met in Phoenix again because it's been a year for me since seeing them.
Yeah, the local chapters often have lunch and learns and things like that. It's interesting too. The different chapters have sort of different flavors. There's the ACI Louisiana chapter is very much or engineering oriented and is heavily slanted towards the engineering side, versus ACI Arizona, which seems to be a little bit more aimed at the construction and general contractor type side of concrete. So it's interesting how the local chapters have their own interests, their own focus based on what the regional needs are. All right. Well, thanks again for joining us. Thanks to everyone for listening to this month's episode of Engineering Greatness. Join us each month as ACI brings together young professionals and experienced members in the concrete industry to engage in intimate conversations about their life and work. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. For more information on the American Concrete Institute, visit us online at concrete.org. We'll see you next time.